My name is Sara Barnette, Seva, Simran, Kaur, and on medias, Ula Hula Hoop and Flow. I am turning in my video for my Yamas and Niyamas and how I can translate that onto my mat. I'm hoping that I can put this in one video because my memory is a little shoddy sometimes. So that's what I'm hoping to do. And if that doesn't work or is not allowed, please, by all means, let me know. So for the word yama itself is like a restriction or control. And so we look at these as guidances. Yama is more of like our outward world, and niyama is more our internal, smaller world, is how I kind of look at that. And even in pranayama, and prana, breath or life, yama being restriction or control, it's our practice to control our life breath. So yamas and niyamas are guidances and help us really. And for our yamas, we would we break them down into like sub-categories or modules, I guess you could say, or different parts of that particular practice. And with yamas, we have ahimsa, satya, asteya, brahmacharya, and aparigraha. And so we'll break those down as well as when we get into the niyamas. Ahimsa means non-harm, non-violence. And how can we translate that into our practice? We can translate that if we're looking outwardly. Say we have looked at our fellow yogi to the side and they're doing something that we can't, like more profound, and we then place a judgment, not only on them, but then on ourselves. We can practice trying to release those judgments or self-harm and mental thought processes. Mantra is a great way to help refocus our mindset, bring back kind of our purity and creation in our mind, and really releasing that this is our own practice. We can have ahimsa. We had a question actually, and further in past questions is if someone wanted to come and witness, just observe class, but they're a first-time person to the studio, how would you handle that? And I felt to create ahimsa for everyone, offering them to come to the virtual office first or have a private session with me where we could discuss kind of where they're being guided and what their ideas are, or to even suggest some free sessions on YouTube that they could watch before they came, to just protect space. I haven't met this person, I don't really know this person or what their intention is, and to protect them and everyone as well. Just creating non-violence in your space, including within yourself and mental thought. Satya, or truthfulness. The mantra Satnam comes to mind. Sat meaning truth, being the first part of this word, Satya, it being truth. Sat being truth, Nam being name or identity, the ultimate truth, the I am, Satnam. A way we can bring that into our practice by tuning into the golden chain, knowing that these teachings are being channeled from practices before, keeping the purity in their lineage, the truthfulness in their practice, and like citing where these come from. The mantra again comes to mind as Satnam, just Satnam, I greet you with my internal truth to your internal truth. If we have that practice kind of in our mindset and on our mat, every time we tend to feel that we're not living in our own truth in our mat, maybe using the mantra Satnam to come back to that, or just allowing that space for truth there in that moment, and then evaluating where we can go from that if we need to modify something. Acceptance too kind of goes hand in hand with that. Asteya would be our next, and covetousness. We do it. Steph was talking about it. You want the house, then you get the house, and then you want to fill the house with things. Then you get too much things, so you want to get a bigger house. And then fill that house with more things. Always just kind of wanting more and not being contentment, which is a niyama. you know, how they go hand in hand. So when you want the new mats, I've been known to do it. I've had yoga mats that are perfectly fine, but then I get the new life format, you know? Did I need it? Not necessarily. Do I like it? Yeah. Does it help me practice? In my mind it does, but does it really? It doesn't change much. So am I coveting wanting more and more when I already had? Yes, possibly. So how can we refrain from doing that in our own practice? Well, I tell you, if you are doing a yoga practice at a studio, they have all the props and tools there. And if that's where you're going already, paying to be there, it's lovely to have our own gear, especially to have your own practice at home, but you can find things at home to use, little blankets, pillows, different props. So if you have what you need already, no need to get more. Now, maybe giving away those things first before you take on more, allowing space for the new, but also keeping that balance of not, you know, clinging and grasping, which goes into aparigraha, like hoarding. For myself, I use stones as a great example. How many smoky quartz stones do I have? How many do I really need? You know, like, could I give some of that out and give that love to the world? Yes, yes, please. So only take what you need and give back the rest. And that would be even in my practice, how I would invite others to do in their practice, to only take what they need in that moment from their breath. Don't overdo it. Don't take too much prana in. Don't push out too much. All in balance. Brahmacharya. Brahma meaning creation, or what we consider God's source energy. But creation, walking with creation, walking with that divineness. A lot of people view this as like a sexual restraint. I consider this too like a restraint of things that take you off your path from Brahm. It could be many different things. So learning to walk in that sincerity and truth in your own practice. All of the yamas kind of tie in together, which will help you walk in your brahmacharya. On the mat, remembering that this is the vessel, the temple, that inside this soul, that the totality of that is really up here with Source. I'm almost like borrowing this space. So when I look at it like that, or if I can take my soul outside of myself, almost like a little child form, an animal form. I love the movie The Golden Compass, because it's like they have their little being outside of them that's like the representation of their soul. And when you almost take yourself outside of yourself that way, imagine how much different you would treat this entity, this thing. You almost treat it better than you think of yourself. So why not bring that inwardly to treat yourself like that? Which is really the connection to the outward source, which you wouldn't want to create imbalance within that. And so it all will bring you back to source. And I'm getting teary-eyed even talking about that. So that's how I know things are truthful, when they give me those chills and I get all teary-eyed. So for my yamas, that's how I would progress into the yamas. And for the exploration of our niyamas, I feel like, again, those are more like our internal self. So to me, how I remember yamas versus niyamas is ni sounds like me. So kind of like, what am I doing in my internal world that can help really the external world? And so niyamas, again, restrictions or controls, restraints. Saucha. Saucha meaning clean body, mind, and spirit. I love the relation of bringing that into your space by cleaning your space, organization, wiping things down, sanitation. Even if you have like all your blocks in a corner, maybe stacking them and organizing them nice instead of just having them thrown there. Same with your blankets and your mats, having some organization, facing everything forward. It might seem redundant or militant, but when you walk into the room and the next day, it just gives your mind this peace, this heart peace, this like open space of cleanliness that is close to source. And so what's really internally going on in here is really reflecting outwardly as well. And so if this outward reflection is nice too, it really helps kind of also the inward reflection, those polarities going back and forth. Santosha, contentment. We kind of talked about that a little bit in the Yamas. Contentment. Acceptance. How can I relate that into the mat? That's a hard one sometimes. Especially acceptance of self, being content into my practice. Good morning, crows and birds. That sounds like actually a mockingbird. Anyways, but so if I am, say, in a pose or in warrior, and it's starting to burn and hurt, and I've pushed to my limit, and I know that if I push further, I'm going to hurt myself. May I accept and can be content to where I am, even though everyone else around me is having no problem at all, just pushing through it. It's okay. This is my practice. This is my mat. This is me and Source together. That's Source with them in different variations. And it's beautiful to watch. It can inspire me to maybe do other things. But may I also be grateful for where I'm at on the mat right now, contentment. Can I be grateful for where they're at on their mat? Can I be grateful for the amount of props that I have today that I brought? Can I be content with the amount of props that are offered to us? If I am looking with expectations, it's a little harder to have contentment and acceptance. So maybe learning to release expectations, maybe working through my mindset and my practice that day of what's blocking me from accepting these moments in time. And then allowing to just feel into that. Being present in the present moment. Really, when we're in the past, we get depressed, we miss things, we stress. When we're in the future, have we paid that bill yet? But the present moment, they say, is the gift, right? We've heard this a million times. Because of the opportunity of contentment and gratitude. Moving into our tapas. I feel like anytime we come to the mat, we're doing tapas. We're tapaing it out. Austerities, self-discipline, the work, right? The fire creates the heat. When you don't want to go onto your mat, you're tired, your mental state, you might mentally just be depressed, anxious, not there, stressed. But you go to your mat anyways, that willpower to get there, that discipline to get it done, the discipline to clean the room afterwards when you're tired and you don't want to. That's working our tapas. Doing it anyways. It's kind of how I look at tapas. Svadhyaya. I just like saying that. The next one, Svadhyaya, our self-reflection. So when we're in meditation and we're coming in, inward, closing our eyes, going into the brow point here, third eye, Anja, with our Anjali Mudra, creating this nice little triangle, divine triangle here, right? Being able to, again, almost like taking yourself outside of yourself while looking in as the observer, self-reflecting, being able to release emotional attachments, as if you would to anyone else, you know? Being able to see where you are in your mat, how you got to where you got to go, where you need to go, what would help assist. Those divine channeled moments when we're in meditation, self-reflection. I always feel like Svadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhana go kind of hand in hand. Because when we go inwardly for self-reflection through meditation and stillness, finding the stillness within finds the stillness outside. You're surrendering almost to the contemplation of the supreme being within you, that polarity of micro to macro, outward to inward, as above, so below. But when you are inward in that stillness, samadhi almost happens, going into that meditative state of contentment, present moment. And that's when you really start kind of channeling those ideas, those creative muses, I call them. It's source, because you've surrendered to source internally through self-reflection. So they kind of go hand in hand. But when you do just trust would be the biggest word there. Learning, and that's the hardest. Oh, that's the hardest for all of us, I think. Even trusting within ourselves that we have the ability to trust source, you know, all of it. But surrendering to the ultimate. Even on your mat, like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this class today. I am trusting that myself, I've always made it through. Nothing's ever stopped me, even when I've hurt and I couldn't do it and I just had to hold space. I made it through that. Why not make it through this too? One day at a time, one step at a time. And to that, I am complete with my Yamas and Niyamas. Satnam, namaste, much love to you, and thank you with all that you do.